If you walked into your kitchen right now and everything at the grocery store disappeared tomorrow, how long could you actually survive on what you have? A week? Maybe 2? Most people would run out of usable food within 10 days. And here is the part that should really get your attention. There are foods sitting on shelves right now, foods you can buy today for almost nothing, that will literally never go bad. Not in 5 years, not in 20, not in 100. Some of these have been found in ancient tombs, and were still perfectly safe to eat. Nobody talks about this because there is no money in telling you to buy something once. The food industry wants you coming back every single week. They want expiration dates on everything because that is how they keep you spending. But today I am pulling back the curtain. I have spent weeks looking into this, and what I found genuinely changed the way I think about my pantry. And when we get to number 11, I need you to pay close attention, because that one item shocked me more than anything else on this list. You will not believe number 11. Before we get started, if you are the kind of person who wants to stay ahead of what is coming and know things before everyone else figures them out, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is built for people like you. People who think for themselves and refuse to be caught off guard. Alright, let us get into it. Item number 1. Honey. This is the one that most people have heard about but very few actually understand. Honey does not expire. Period. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in Egyptian tombs that were over 3,000 years old, and it was still perfectly edible. The reason is simple. Honey has an incredibly low moisture content and a naturally acidic pH. Bacteria literally cannot survive in it. If your honey crystallizes, and it will over time, that does not mean it has gone bad. You just warm it up gently, and it goes right back to liquid. I used to throw out crystallized honey. I am embarrassed to admit that. For years I thought those hard chunks meant it was done. Then I looked into it, and realized I had been throwing away money for no reason. The honey industry does not exactly rush to correct that misunderstanding either. Here is what you should do. Buy honey in bulk. Raw, unfiltered honey is best, because it has not been heated or processed in ways that reduce its natural preservation. Store it in glass jars in a cool, dark place. You could pass this honey down to your grandchildren, and it would still be good. That is not an exaggeration. That is a fact. And with honey prices climbing almost 15% over the last 2 years according to retail tracking data, buying now saves you real money down the road. This is one of those items where knowledge is literally power. Most people will keep throwing it away. You will not. Item number 2. White rice. If you are not storing white rice right now, you are making a mistake. Plain white rice, when stored properly in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers, has an almost indefinite shelf life. We are talking 30 years or more according to food storage research from multiple university extension programs. Brown rice does not count here. Brown rice has oils in the bran layer that go rancid within 6 months to a year. White rice has had that layer removed, which is exactly why it lasts so long. I started buying 25-pound bags of white rice from Costco about a year ago. The price per pound there is still hard to beat. I transferred it into 5-gallon food-grade buckets with Gamma Seal lids and dropped in oxygen absorbers. Total cost for enough rice to feed my family for months was under $40. That is the kind of math that makes you wonder why everyone is not doing this. The practical move here is straightforward. Get white rice in bulk. Get food-grade buckets. Get oxygen absorbers from Amazon. They cost almost nothing. Seal it up and forget about it. It will be there for you in 5 years, in 15 years, in 25 years. And the way grocery prices have been moving, future you is going to be very grateful. Do not wait until the next supply chain disruption to figure this out. By then, the shelves will already be thin. Item number 3. Salt. This one seems obvious, but most people do not actually think about it. Salt is a mineral. It is not a biological substance. It does not decompose. It does not rot. It does not go bad. Salt has been used as a preservative for thousands of years, precisely because it is one of the most stable substances on Earth. Now here is the catch. Table salt that has added iodine can technically lose its iodine potency over about 5 years. The salt itself is still fine, but the iodine supplement fades. Pure salt without additives, like sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, will last forever without any change whatsoever. I keep both kinds in my pantry. Iodized salt for everyday cooking and a large bag of pure sea salt for long-term storage. A 10-pound bag of salt costs almost nothing and could last a single household years under normal use. In a situation where supply chains tighten, salt becomes incredibly valuable. Historically, it was literally used as currency. There is a reason the word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. Stock up on salt now. It costs pennies. It weighs nothing in your budget. And it never goes bad. There is no reason not to have extra. Item number 4. Sugar white. Granulated sugar is another one that lasts indefinitely when stored correctly. The key is keeping moisture out. Sugar does not support microbial growth because of its low moisture content. If it gets damp, it will clump and harden, but even hardened sugar is still perfectly safe to use. You just break it up or dissolve it. I had a bag of sugar in my basement pantry that I completely forgot about for almost 3 years. When I found it, it was hard as a brick. I almost tossed it. Then I remembered what I had learned about shelf-stable foods, and I broke off a chunk, dissolved it in warm water, and it was absolutely fine. Tasted exactly the same. The food industry puts best-by dates on sugar. Those dates are meaningless for safety. They are there for inventory rotation and to get you to buy more. That is the game. Once you understand that, you stop playing it. Buy sugar in bulk. Store it in airtight containers. A 5-pound bag costs a few dollars and will sit in your pantry for decades without losing a thing. Powdered sugar and brown sugar are slightly different because of added cornstarch and molasses. So for true long-term storage, stick with plain white granulated. Item number 5. Dried beans. Dried beans are one of the most underrated survival foods on the planet. When kept dry and sealed, they can last well over 25 years. Their nutritional value may decrease slightly over very long periods, meaning they might take longer to cook after a decade or two, but they remain safe and edible essentially forever. Here's what most people get wrong. They buy canned beans and think they are set. Canned beans are great, but they have a realistic shelf life of about 3 to 5 years before quality starts to drop. Dried beans in a sealed container with oxygen absorbers will outlast canned beans by a factor of 5 or more, and they cost a fraction of the price. I did a price comparison at Walmart last month. A 1-pound bag of dried pinto beans was under $2. A single can of pinto beans, which contains maybe half a pound of actual beans after you drain the liquid, was $1.69. You are paying more than 3 times as much per pound for canned, and the canned version does not last nearly as long. Buy dried beans in bulk. Pinto, black, navy, kidney, get a variety. Store them in airtight containers in a cool, dark place. Learn how to soak and cook them if you do not already know. This is real food security for almost no money, and when prices spike again, and they will, you will already be covered. Item number 6. Pure vanilla extract. This one surprises a lot of people. Pure vanilla extract, the real kind made with alcohol, does not expire. The alcohol acts as a natural preservative and actually improves the flavor over time, similar to how wine or whiskey ages. Imitation vanilla is a different story. That is synthetic and will degrade, but real pure vanilla extract is essentially immortal. I checked the price of a small bottle of pure vanilla extract at my local grocery store last week and nearly choked. It was over $11 for 4 ounces. Vanilla bean prices have been volatile for years because of weather disruptions in Madagascar, where most of the world's vanilla is grown. Industry reports from the specialty food sector show that vanilla prices have more than doubled in the last decade. So here is the smart move. Buy a large bottle of pure vanilla extract now. It will never go bad. It will only get better. And you are locking in today's price on something that will almost certainly cost more next year. Store it in a cool, dark cabinet and forget about it. Every time you bake for the next 20 years, you will be using vanilla you bought at 2025 prices. That is how you beat the system. Item number 7. Cornstarch. Cornstarch is one of those pantry items people overlook completely. It is just a fine white powder with virtually zero moisture content. It does not spoil. It does not go rancid. It does not lose its thickening power. As long as you keep it dry and sealed, cornstarch will last indefinitely. I have a box of cornstarch in my pantry right now that I bought at least 4 years ago. It works exactly the same as the day I bought it. No change in texture, no change in performance. And yet the box has a best by date printed on it that passed 2 years ago. That date means nothing. Cornstarch is also incredibly versatile. You can use it for cooking, baking, thickening sauces, and even for non-food purposes like soothing skin irritation or making homemade cleaning products. A single box costs about $2 and lasts for years under normal use. For long-term storage, transfer it to an airtight container and keep it in a dry spot. This is one of those items where the cost is so low and the shelf life is so long that there is absolutely no reason not to have extra on hand. Item number 8. Soy sauce. Here is one that genuinely caught me off guard. Soy sauce, the real naturally brewed kind, has an incredibly long shelf life. Unopened, it can last indefinitely. Even opened, it stays good for years without refrigeration because of its extremely high sodium content. Bacteria simply cannot thrive in that environment. I found a bottle of soy sauce in the back of my cabinet that I had forgotten about for what must have been close to 3 years. It had been opened. I smelled it, tasted a tiny bit, and it was completely fine. Maybe even a little deeper in flavor than I remembered. I looked into it and found that traditional soy sauce is actually a fermented product. It has already been through a biological transformation. There is not much left for bacteria to do. Kikkoman and other major brands will put a best-by date on the bottle. That is for peak quality, not safety. An unopened bottle of soy sauce stored in a cool, dark pantry could easily last a decade or more without any issues. If you use soy sauce in your cooking, buy the larger bottles. The per-ounce cost is much lower, and you are not going to waste a drop. It is not going anywhere. This is the kind of quiet savings that adds up over time without you even noticing. Item number 9. Distilled white vinegar. Vinegar is essentially self-preserving. The Vinegar Institute, yes, that is a real organization, has confirmed that the shelf life of vinegar is almost indefinite. White distilled vinegar in particular will remain virtually unchanged for years and years. Its acidic nature means nothing harmful can grow in it. I use vinegar for everything: cooking, cleaning, laundry, removing odors, even as a weed killer in the garden. A gallon of distilled white vinegar at Walmart costs about $3. $3 for something that never expires and replaces at least 4 or 5 other products you are currently buying. That math should make you angry when you think about how much you have been spending on specialized cleaners and sprays. For long-term storage, just keep it sealed in its original container in a cool area. You might notice some cloudiness or sediment over time. That is completely harmless. It is actually a sign of natural processes and does not affect safety or usefulness at all. Stock up on vinegar. It is one of the cheapest and most versatile items you can own, and it will never let you down. Most people walk right past it. That is their loss. Item number 10. Instant coffee and freeze-dried coffee. If you drink coffee, and statistically most of you do, this one matters. Instant coffee and freeze-dried coffee in sealed packaging can last 20 years or more without going bad. The freeze-drying process removes virtually all moisture, which is the primary driver of spoilage. Once sealed in an airtight container, there is simply nothing left to decompose. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Instant coffee does not taste as good as fresh ground. And you are right. But this is not about your Saturday morning pour-over ritual. This is about having a reliable source of caffeine and comfort that will be there no matter what happens. In any kind of extended disruption, coffee disappears from shelves fast. We saw it during the early pandemic. We saw it during shipping delays. Coffee is one of the first comfort items people panic buy. I picked up several large jars of freeze-dried coffee from Costco and Amazon. The cost was minimal. I sealed them with desiccant packets and put them in the back of my storage closet. If I never need them, I am out maybe $15. If I do need them, I have months of coffee while everyone else is going without. Buy a few extra jars. Seal them properly. Forget about them. Future you will thank present you. And honestly, a hot cup of coffee in a tough situation is worth more than most people realize. Item number 11. Hardtack. This is the one I told you about at the beginning. This is the one that genuinely shocked me. Hardtack. Most people have never even heard of it, and that is exactly why I needed to include it on this list. Hardtack is a simple cracker made from flour, water, and sometimes a tiny bit of salt. That is it. No fat, no eggs, no dairy, no leavening. It is baked until every trace of moisture is gone. And because of that, it does not spoil. Civil War hardtack from the 1860s has been found in museums and private collections that is technically still edible over 150 years later. That is not folklore. That is documented. I made a batch of hardtack at home last month just to see what it was like. It took about 30 minutes of active work and an hour in the oven. The result was a dense, rock-hard cracker that I could barely bite into. But when I soaked a piece in hot soup, it softened up and was surprisingly filling. It is not gourmet food. It is survival food, and it costs almost nothing to make. Here is what blew my mind. A 50-pound bag of all-purpose flour from a restaurant supply store costs around $20. From that single bag, you could make enough hardtack to feed a person for months. Months. For $20. And it would stay good for decades if kept dry. I am not saying you need to live on hardtack. I am saying that knowing this exists and knowing how to make it puts you in a completely different position than 99% of people. This is real knowledge, the kind that used to be passed down through families and has been mostly forgotten. Look up a basic hardtack recipe. Make a test batch. Store it in a sealed container. You now have an emergency food supply that will outlast almost anything else in your home, and it cost you practically nothing. Item number 12. Maple syrup. Pure maple syrup is another one with an essentially indefinite shelf life when stored correctly. Like honey, its high sugar concentration makes it inhospitable to bacteria. If mold forms on the surface, which can happen if moisture gets in, you can actually skim it off, boil the syrup briefly, and it is perfectly fine again. That is guidance straight from maple syrup producers in Vermont and Canada. I talked to someone who works at a small maple farm in New Hampshire, and they told me something interesting. They said commercial producers sometimes store syrup in barrels for years before bottling it. There is no rush because it does not go bad. The only reason it gets a best-by date on the retail bottle is because regulations require one, not because the product actually expires. Pure maple syrup is not cheap. A quart can run $12 to $18 depending on the grade. But here is the thing. If it never goes bad, then it is not really an expense. It is an investment. You are converting dollars into a stable, permanent food asset. And with maple syrup prices increasing steadily due to climate-related impacts on sap production, buying now is smarter than buying later. Store it sealed in a cool, dark place. If you open a bottle and will not use it quickly, keep it in the freezer. It will not freeze solid because of the sugar content, but the cold temperature adds an extra layer of preservation. This is smart money. Item number 13. Pemmican is the original survival food. It was developed by indigenous peoples of North America and later adopted by fur traders and explorers. It is made from dried lean meat, rendered fat, and sometimes dried berries. When made correctly, pemmican can last for decades. Some historical accounts suggest it remained edible for 50 years or more. The reason pemmican lasts so long is that every component is shelf-stable. The meat is fully dried, removing all moisture. The rendered fat, usually tallow, seals out air and bacteria. There is simply nothing in it that can spoil under normal storage conditions. I made my first batch of pemmican about 6 months ago using beef jerky that I ground into a powder and mixed with melted beef tallow. I added some dried blueberries for flavor. The result was dense, calorie-rich, and honestly not bad tasting. Each small bar packed a serious nutritional punch: protein, fat, and some carbohydrates from the berries. It is a complete food. You can buy pemmican from specialty survival food companies, but making it yourself is significantly cheaper and not difficult. The ingredients are basic, the process is straightforward, and the end product is one of the most durable foods ever created by human beings. If you are serious about long-term food security, learn how to make pemmican. It is a skill that most people alive today have completely lost. Having that knowledge puts you ahead of almost everyone around you. Item number 14. Bouillon cubes and powdered broth. This is a practical one that people constantly overlook. Bouillon cubes and powdered broth have an extremely long shelf life. The combination of high sodium, dehydration, and minimal fat content means they resist spoilage for years beyond their printed dates. Stored in a sealed container in a cool, dry environment, they can remain usable for a decade or more. I keep a large jar of chicken bouillon powder and a box of beef bouillon cubes in my pantry at all times. They take up almost no space. They weigh almost nothing, and they turn plain water and rice into an actual meal with flavor and some nutritional value. In any situation where fresh food is limited, having the ability to make hot broth is a game changer for morale and nutrition. I checked prices recently, and a large container of bouillon at Walmart was under $5. That container can make dozens of servings of broth. The cost per serving is literally pennies. And yet most people do not think to stock up on it because it is not exciting. It is not flashy. It just sits there quietly being one of the smartest things in your pantry. Buy extra bouillon. Put it in the back of your cabinet. It will be there when you need it. And when you do need it, you will realize just how valuable something so simple and cheap can be. Item number 15. Dried pasta. I saved this one for last because it is probably the most universally useful item on this entire list. Dried pasta, when stored in airtight containers in a cool, dry place, can last for 25 to 30 years. The key is that it is already a very low-moisture product. With proper storage using oxygen absorbers and sealed containers, it essentially enters a state of suspended preservation. Pasta is also one of the most calorie-dense and affordable foods available. A 1-pound box of spaghetti at most grocery stores costs between $1 and $2. That single box provides roughly 1,600 calories. For long-term storage, you could build a massive calorie reserve for the cost of a single dinner out. I started buying extra pasta every time I went to the store about a year ago. Just 1 or 2 extra boxes each trip. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that strained my budget. Over time, I built up a significant supply without even really noticing the expense. I transferred it all into 5-gallon buckets with oxygen absorbers, same as the rice. It is now sitting in my storage area, ready to last for decades. Here is the thing about pasta. Everyone eats it. Everyone knows how to cook it. It pairs with almost anything. Bouillon, canned sauce, olive oil, butter, dried herbs. It is the ultimate base food. And when prices go up, which they have been doing steadily, you will already have yours locked in at today's cost. Do not overthink this. Just start buying a little extra each week. In a few months you will have a stockpile that most people cannot match, and it will not have cost you more than the price of a couple of fast food meals. Now let me tie all of this together, because there is a bigger picture here that I do not want you to miss. Every single item on this list shares something in common. They are simple. They are affordable. They are available right now at stores you already shop at. And they last essentially forever. That combination is incredibly rare and incredibly powerful. The food industry does not want you thinking this way. They want you buying fresh, buying often, buying branded, buying convenient. They make money when you come back every week. They do not make money when you buy a bag of rice once and do not need another one for 30 years. The pattern here is clear. The smartest thing you can do for your family and your budget is to build a foundation of foods that do not expire. Not because the world is ending, not because you need to panic, but because it is the most rational, cost-effective, empowering thing a person can do with a small amount of money. Most people will never do this. Most people will keep buying week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and hoping nothing disrupts the system. But you are not most people. You are here. You are paying attention. You are thinking ahead. And that puts you in a position that very few people occupy. Start small if you need to. Pick 3 or 4 items from this list and grab extras on your next grocery run. Over time, build it up. Before you know it, you will have a pantry that could carry your family through almost anything. And the peace of mind that comes with that is worth more than I can describe. If this video opened your eyes to even one thing you did not know before, hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already. I am putting out content like this regularly, because I believe the people who pay attention now are the ones who will be okay later. Drop a comment and tell me which item on this list surprised you the most. I read every single one. Next video I am working on is going to go even deeper into the things stores do not want you to know about how they price and rotate products. You are not going to want to miss that one. Stay smart, stay ahead, and I will see you in the next one.